Welcome to the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast, the show where we discuss what it takes to create a sustainable long-term online business in today's fast-moving environment. We talk with industry experts and freelancers alike to find out what it takes to build and manage a location-independent business.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. I'm your host, Adam Finan, and today I have a new guest on. His name is Jons Schreyers, aka the Tech Whisperer, and for the past 12 years he's worked to help people get online and now helps people by getting traffic to their website through SEO. He also has a Kickstarter business as well as a WordPress website template gallery. So I'll open it up to John. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're based and what it is that you do? And thanks for joining us on the...
Yeah, cheers Adam, cheers for having me. So a bit of a backstory of how I got started. I did like a Mickey Mouse web development course back in the day. Like 12 years ago, as I said. And then just did loads of free work until I got an actual full-time job. And then got bored of the 9 to 5 pretty quick, so quit, and then didn't have a backup. So then went off and did some freelancing, which got me by, and then did some contracting, which is much more lucrative, which is good. And then like 4.5 years ago, moved from London to Perth in Australia, and then I was there for 3.5 years, and then the last year I've been out, just traveling around, but still maintaining my Tech Whisperer business.
Nice. And Perth is a beautiful place. I lived there for 2 years myself. Used to live in Fremantle. I love I miss it. Don't worry. That's like one of those things you look back on like, oh, what if I didn't leave that beautiful sunny place? Australia is awesome. London's expensive, and I'm sure you're happy now. Where are you based at the minute?
So now I'm in Bansko in Bulgaria, which is it's a co-working space. They've only had it like 2 years. The community here is really, really good, and it's a great vibe.
It's become quite a popular hotspot in Europe for it, hasn't it? I have some friends who've been there, and they say that they love it there. It's good quality of living. It's very cheap. There's a good community. Yeah, would you say the same?
Yeah, someone called it like the Chiang Mai of Europe. So it's so affordable here, and even in the ski season when they like double the prices, it's still really livable. There's no.
Still not London, where I have co-workers and people who I know who live there, and they pay like 1,500, 1,700 sterling a month for rent in a little box, which is not ideal. Like if you pay £1,000, in Bulgaria, you're going to be living pretty sweet, I imagine.
Yeah, you'd have about 3 penthouses.
Absolutely. So cool. Look, that's brilliant. And can we just circle back a little bit, all right? So I'd like to wind it back to the beginning and just talk about, so you said, 12 years ago, you started learning about building websites, which I suppose in the world of building websites is quite a long time ago. Things have evolved a lot in that time period. You probably had to learn a lot of actual code, where nowadays a lot of people use drag and drop builders and self-build platforms. So you said you started out and, you started doing a bit of freelancing and getting a bit of contract work. Can you talk about how you went about getting that? Was it on job sites? Was it through referrals, old workplaces? How did that look when you very first started out?
So, I was looking on Country for people who wanted websites made, because you can't. It's very difficult to get your first client, your first paying client, if you haven't got a portfolio to back it up. So, you need to do that free work first, just to get something on there, and to make all the mistakes quick. And then once you've got that portfolio, I think the first company that I partnered with was a designer, and I did find her on Country, and that was like one of my first freelance paying jobs, like outside of my 9 to 5 ones. So Country, I would say, is a good way to start if you've got no experience. That is.
And Gumtree, just for people who are listening, because we have a lot of listeners in Canada and the United States, Gumtree is like Craigslist, you know, for the UK and for Australia. It's very popular in Australia. You use it for everything in Australia. So, you know, like Craigslist mightn't be so big in those. Like Craigslist is very much USA and Canada focused, but when you come outside of there, Gumtree is huge in the UK and Australia. I don't know if it's big in Europe, but yeah. So it's one of those sites where people might post jobs, you know, looking for help and things like that. So cool. So that was how you got your first. And so did you just, you know, reach out to those people and just to kind of ask on this as well? Because I feel like the portfolio is such an important thing. And even I struggled with this when I started. It's like you're waiting for people to pay you to do work, but you won't sit down and do your best work for yourself sometimes. So did you build a little portfolio of sites, or did you kind of build yourself a website, say you could do it, and start to reach out? What did that look like at the beginning?
Yeah, yeah. So I think everyone goes off and buys their own name as a domain, and then just like sets up sites on that and just test things. Just doing that.
No worries. So just kind of testing and stuff. I guess I was just kind of wondering, like, when you started applying for these jobs, were you just kind of, you know, speaking to your experience? Were you getting on phone calls with people? Were you emailing them? You know, like that's just kind of, or was it like you were doing it at a lower rate because you were getting started? People were happy to give you a go. They weren't asking for like, you know, show me 10 websites you've built. You know what I mean? At that initial period.
Yeah. Yeah. I think to find out people, I would just go out and, you know, like friends of friends. There's always someone looking for a website. So yeah, just being out and about and just chatting to people and saying, yeah, this is what I'm doing. There's always people who are going to want to test you out, especially if it's like super cheap. Then yeah, and then so yeah, that's basically the way to start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like, look, you have to build a portfolio of some description, and you know, obviously, if you can do it, getting paid work or lower paid jobs, that's fine at the beginning. So, you know, after a period of time of doing that, I guess, did you stick to web design for, you know, a couple of years? At what point did SEO become, you know, like, oh, I'm sure, like, even myself, like, I know when you build a website for somebody, they're also like, oh, now how do I get it to rank in Google? So at what point did you start to offer that as a service as well? And did you, you know, kind of sell it to your current clients? You know, how did that all look?
Did an online course with another Irish guy actually, and I'd met him through a co-working space. He was just doing SEO, and yeah, so I did his course, and that was like 2.5 years ago now. So yeah, having a client base already with web development was, yeah, it's quite a good easy upsell because one, they trust you already, and yeah, so you don't need to make that initial conversation about like who you are and all this stuff. So yeah, just getting a couple of and again, because you're just starting out, you've got no proven record. You just need to do a few things for cheap just to get your track record going.
For sure. So that just to clarify, that was a strategic partnership. You were doing the web design, you partnered up with somebody who did SEO. Is that correct? Or did you do somebody's course in SEO? Sorry, just to clarify.
Yes, I did someone's course.
Oh, perfect.
And he was like, oh, if you've got a web development business, this is a great add-on. And yeah, and I think the course paid for itself because I got like my first SEO client maybe like a month after I finished the course, which just, yeah, I just paid for that. So yeah, it's a win.
Oh, that's awesome. And so as you started to add on these extra services and things like that, you know, did you have, you know, some growing pains? Did you need to hire in some help? At what point did it become like, I can't manage all this on my own? You know, did you start to look for freelancers yourself?
Yeah, so I didn't outsource any of the SEO stuff because I was new and I wanted to learn all the ropes and that. But yeah, definitely the web development stuff. I basically got it down to a system. So I wasn't making the fanciest websites or charging the highest rates, but I've had like this huge library of pre-built templates. So it means that I could like knock out sites quicker, but I know that the code's still good. And then so basically I went on Upwork, tested out a few freelancers, basically told them my process, gave them access to all of my tools, and then yeah, just tested them out, and then would tweak bits, just to make sure that I was happy with the work that was getting done. And after a few sites, then you get the process down, and then that's easy. And then you can work on other bits that you want to do, and you still
Sweet. So you were building out solid project management and standard operating procedures, so you could template it out, remove yourself from that element of the business, the day-to-day, the mechanical work, and you could focus then on growing the business and acquire new clients. Is that correct? Yeah. Awesome. And so once you started to offer this, so I guess, the next thing is, and this is where a lot of people struggle, is, acquiring of new clients. So did you focus on a certain country or a certain niche? Can you talk a little bit more to how you went about, acquiring new web dev and SEO clients?
Yeah, so living in Perth, I basically just went to every single networking event that was available. I'm an introvert, so it's not my favorite thing to just go out and talk to crowds of people, but it's a thing that you really need to do, and it is still the best way to get new clients. I basically just blitz networking in Perth. I still get all my clients and referrals from Perth, even though I haven't been there for the last year.
Nice. And Australians have a high, it's expensive to live in Australia. And, the minimum wage for a waitress or a bartender is like $30. So like when you're providing a high level service like SEO, it's a high level service and you can charge a premium price. It's not like, here in Ireland, it's, I live in Ireland, and, offering local SEO, like outside of Dublin, it's very difficult, to charge the proper prices. And that's why for myself, like I have to focus on countries like United States, Australia. I have some clients in Perth, and a little bit of the UK to see more value. But it's relative to the competition, I think, and whether people in that market are used to it. In America, they're so used to it, because it's so competitive. The population density allows for people to be able to charge $1,000 a month for local SEO, whereas in Ireland, it's just not the same. It really isn't. We've had sites where we're sending people leads and they're like, no, we're too busy. We don't need that extra business. You're like, oh my God, it's just a different ballgame over here compared to other places. So, and so did you, and just to speak to that, so when you were saying you went to these networking events, because I've experienced this, and look, there's a part of me that likes it and there's a part of me that hates it. Like I've done BNI, I've done Chamber of Commerce. Some of that stuff I just didn't like that, yeah. But like it's cringy, some of it, you know what I mean? Like it's just not my cup of tea, and some of it's very fake, like it really is. And when you come in as the new young gun with the web dev skills, like that was my scenario a couple of years ago when I was doing this stuff, and I don't know, I just felt like it was very clicky. You had to send them a bunch of business before they'd even think about sending you stuff. I found it very strange. So did you do any of those like BNI, Chamber of Commerce, or was it more like, meetup.com sort of online entrepreneur meetup event?
Well, I basically did all of them. So, I went to, so I did BNI for a year, and that was good. I did enough business out of there to pay the fees, so it was well worth it. But for that, I think the main bit that I got, it was where they force you to do your 1 minute speech and your 10-minute presentation stuff, because that's no one really thinks about having to give good presentation skills when you're like working for yourself. But it's really, really important.
Well, it is important. And what I found strange about, BNI was you'd be talking with people and it's like, oh my God, if you give me you for a month and I guarantee I'll get you more business. Your online stuff is a mess. You know what I mean? But it's never mind this referral on a piece of paper when you have to stand up in front of everybody and shake hands and I pass this full of some business. It's like, how about you just like, trust me for a few weeks, I'll get you some online business, because you know what I mean? There's so many things you can open up with people when you look at their stuff. Often the guys in Ireland, I can't speak to Australia, but in Ireland, the people who are in BNI are a bit more old school, older business, you know what I mean? So they wouldn't be so online savvy, and you're just looking at their stuff and you're like, oh my God, I could guarantee you I could get you more business. But, you know, unless you literally like have your, you know, you literally physically give them a client in person on a piece of paper, they didn't see the value. And I was like, oh, that really frustrated me in B&I. Maybe it was different in Australia. I mean, you can talk to it a little.
No, I've been to one in Australia, and I went to one in London as well. And yeah, they're they're pretty set in their ways and old school and stuff. So, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But I think as a I think there's so many businesses that could have much better like online web presence, but as you said before, some of them just really don't care. Like they still get all their business through like yeah local referrals and friends of friends, and yeah, especially when you're talking about local businesses, um, it's always referral based anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the most powerful. Like, I mean, you even spoke to it there a few minutes ago. Like, the majority of your new business, I mean, sorry, not the majority, but you still get new business from your time in Perth doing this groundwork.
Yep.
And Carlo, who I spoke to in episode 1, who does local SEO as well and has a content business, he does it in the United States, and he is starting now, like he's about a year and a half in, and a similar situation. He's starting to get more and more referrals from these businesses who he's helped, and he's like, it's kind of starting to, you know, take on its own legs and grow a little bit more organically. So, I mean, it is still the most, because I guess you're getting people, if people know and trust people and they're like, no, look, that's the guy, John's the guy, you want more calls, John, just go to John, he'll sort you out. Pay him whatever and he'll make it happen. So no, look, that's brilliant, and it's good to hear, because I mean, like, that's old school networking. And for people who are, you know, digital nomads and working remote, like, a lot of people might not do this sort of stuff, you know, but if you're in a freelance position, I mean, things like Chamber of Commerce, B&I, you know, they can help get you in front of people who need help with their businesses. And while they're not for everybody, and look, me personally, I didn't like it, but I still did it, and you still got some business. I still got business from it. But I mean, it's just not my cup of tea. Even you said, like, it made you come out of your shell a little bit. You had to do your presentation, and it helped you maybe to, you know, refine your elevator pitch, you know, like who you are and what you do. And like, when you start off, you might be a bit, but then soon enough, you're like, I'm John, I do this and I do that, and I help you get that. And it becomes very clear. So, so I guess the in-person networking is important. And even for people who are digital nomads and want to work remote, now you have that freedom to work remote because you did the groundwork while you were in a city, you know, in a city like Perth in Australia. So.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, like, yeah, the year that I've been traveling so far, I think, yeah, there still are opportunities to do like networking. It's just you just have to tweak it a little bit. So yeah, and sometimes some of the places that you're going, it's not like the same stuff as you're used to. But yeah, that's why when you are traveling around, going to co-working spaces is like vital, because yeah, a lot of the extra work has come through just partnerships with other people that I've met through that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, you when you meet up with people who need your skills and you just start working together, that's how I grew. I used to do freelance writing. That was a similar thing. You'd be in co-working spaces. There was all these SEO guys. Content was their pain point. You're like, oh, I do that. And then boom, you're like, all right, well, here, can you do all this? You're like, oh, actually, I can. Yeah. And, you know, there you go. So, like, probably similar to you, people might need web help. People might need SEO help. And just to speak to that, do you focus on local SEO, or do you also do, you know, like, let's say affiliate SEO or national SEO? What's your current situation?
Yeah, I generally say it's just local SEO.
And for acquiring of new clients, so just because I feel like this is important, because it's like, it's one of the, well, I mean, it's what grows the business, you know what I mean, and allows you to have the revenue. So, you know, you done your time, you got your referrals from Perth, you brought your clients, you know, you upsold your web dev clients. You know, what else do you do now at this point to help acquire more business for yourself? Like, are you running AdWords? Do you have Google My Business listings in Perth City yourself and you're getting referrals through that? You know, what is the process at the minute for acquiring of new customers for your web dev and local SEO?
So generally now, the main one is just finding good Facebook groups.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, you do get kicked out of Facebook groups if they find out that you're not actually there, especially if it's like a local one. I mean, like, so I got kicked out of some of the Perth ones, just because I wasn't there anymore.
And would you use your personal profile in that instance, or would you be using like a fake profile?
No, I'd always use my personal one. I haven't actually thought of using a fake one.
No, that's fine. No, I'm only asking because I read. No, I'm only asking because I read a thing this morning, which was like Facebook just like shut down like 1.5 million accounts, or I don't even know, was it 50 million? But like, anyway, fake accounts, because you know what I mean, because they're clamping down on. Because look, there are people who do the latter, you know what I mean? There are people who will set up fake accounts, share into these, join all these groups, share into them so that they don't get their personal profile cut down. I'm only curious, I'm not saying that you're doing anything bad or anything. I was only curious, like, would you have a persona set up to do that side of the business? But no, that's fine. You use your own personal profile, legit. And would you go into these? So are these like small business groups, or are they like buy and sell groups, or what's the strategy?
Yeah, so I think like it's good to just like join a lot of groups and then you'll quickly find out which ones are just full of spam, and then which ones there are actually some real people in there. And then basically when you join a group, just scroll down, find out like if you can help anyone in there, and just be a little proactive in that group. So then people just start seeing your face a lot. And yeah, so when you start, you just have to give a lot and basically solve people's problems. Um, and then from that, then you'll start getting a bit of trust in there, and then you can start, like, you need to be a little bit careful on how you promote your service so it doesn't look like you're just there just spamming stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, you're leading with value in that instance. You're answering people's questions, probably around, I would imagine, around websites and online marketing. Would that be correct? And getting more business. And then, do you feel like, I often feel that, when somebody hovers over your profile, that that's a very important point. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, they should be able to clearly see what it is that you do. So, would you link out to, your website and your services there at that point? Would that be kind of how you're using that? So you provide the value in the hope that people will hover on your profile, see who you are and what you do, and reach out to you from there.
Yeah. So on my personal profile, I'll put like my stuff. So I'll use Facebook like it's supposed to be used to show like what I'm doing. But then I'll also put in a mix up with like business bits that I'm doing and how, like, projects that I'm working on. So yeah. So then you get the legitimacy of having an actual profile, so people know it's not just there just to get work, and then they can see what you do.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I completely agree with everything that you're saying. It's a great way, even if you're a freelancer, like whether you're doing, writing or virtual assistant or any of these different things, Facebook groups are a really good way to get in front of potential ideal clients, and to get in front of the right people. But you can't just show up and be like, here's a link to my website, come buy my stuff. Like, and I'm in a bunch of different Facebook groups for SEO, building an agency, Facebook ads, Shopify. You know what I mean? I'm in any amount. And you see, just like you're saying, you see a lot of the same people who are adding value all the time. And if you were looking for somebody to do something, you automatically start to think, you're like, well, I know that guy who does that thing. So, I can go or that girl, and I mean, I've hired people out of Facebook groups. It's kind of funny because you start to trust them more than like I still use Fiverr. I still use Upwork from time to time, people per hour. I used to really love Upwork. I don't anymore. And this might sound weird, but I'm finding better people off Fiverr. And I'm not paying them a fiver, believe you me. I paid them 50 quid or 100 quid for whatever it is I need done. But I have found better people off Fiverr than Upwork in the past 6 to 8 months. Like, Upwork's been driving me crazy. I found an agency in the Philippines who I work with, who do my social media and stuff for the podcast, and who do for a couple other businesses that I have. So, I mean, they're doing good. I found them on onlinejobs.ph, which ironically I spoke about in the last podcast. Look, I mean, it used to be great. I don't necessarily love it. It's like I'm not in I'm not down with paying €80 a month or €80 a quarter, whatever it is, just for access. And I had a lot of flaky freelancers. People show up and you give them trials and, paid trials, and then they disappear. And I was like, oh, screw this, and I went back to using Upwork and Fiverr a little bit more. Now, look, I found a good agency. I work with them. I'm happy with them. I found a good agency for web stuff that I would work with in India. I've worked with them on and off for projects for a couple of years on Upwork, you know what I mean? But now we kind of work off Upwork, and you know how it goes, because Upwork takes 20%. but you know what's strange? See, on Fiverr, people will not even entertain the idea of taking things off Fiverr, which I can, like, it's strange because it's different, because normally on Upwork you're like, all right, do a few jobs, and then it's like, all right, can we take this off here so I can get to 20%? On Fiverr, I mean, people won't even share their emails with me. People won't add me on Skype. People are like, no, sir, everything needs to be done in here, and you're like, okay, that's fair enough. But it's just like, I end up, set up a Asana or a Trello board and just kind of add them to that or something, but I just find it's very different compared to those other places where people are, as quick as they can get off it, they're happy because they're not paying, 20% is a lot if you're a freelance gig to just hand over for. Well, I mean, yeah, look, you can argue it both ways. You wouldn't have got the job had it not have been for Upwork, but 20% is a big cut. It's too much for struggling freelancers. You know what I mean?
They've been really restrictive on taking on new freelancers on Upwork, which I didn't know was a thing.
Look, I mean, I guess, a part of hiring and, outsource staff as well is, you really have to know what you want. And I struggled with this before. You hire people, maybe didn't have the correct operating procedures, maybe didn't have good enough instructions. So, I mean, you really got to, spend some time, document out what you need done, make some videos using Loom or whatever, screen recordings. I mean, you gotta be ready for when you hire, because if you go and hire and you don't have all that stuff ready and it doesn't work out, it's not their fault. It's your fault. You weren't ready, which, I mean, a lot of people are like, I need help. And then you're like, they don't document what they need help with and get very clear on what they need the help with. And then they get all frustrated with the freelancers and they're like, this isn't working. You're the problem. You got to get out of your own way. And I've been in that situation myself, So, cool. So look, and so these are all like, these are great ways. So, I mean, these are good ways that you've grown the business. So, you're adding value in Facebook groups. You have your previous stuff from your networking events. Would you still go to, like a BNI meeting or something in London if you're passing through, or, would you still look to, get in front of those sort of businesses, or are you kind of happy enough now that you've built enough of a, momentum that you don't feel the need to be doing that stuff?
Yeah, I think I've got like enough referrals coming through, but I wouldn't say no to going to another meeting. I mean, like, it's always good to just like keep up to date with things. Like, they might have changed some of their processes, and you never know who you're going to meet at the events anyway. So, and yeah, you might find like another great partnership. So, I mean, I would never avoid it.
Sweet. And then for so, aside from Facebook groups, is there anything else that you're using in terms of, acquiring new customers, or is it just, the referrals in the Facebook groups and, your previous clients, like that's sufficient to keep it growing?
Yes, that's sort of sufficient. But I think when you're traveling around, going around to different co-working spaces, if you have the opportunity to put on an event or just showcase what you do, you're always going to get something positive from it. And it's always good to diversify what you do, right? Because if one thing just stops, then you're screwed. So, and this is why I've got like a few different like side gigs going on, and these are all from talking to other co-workers and just going, we want to do something completely different. So let's make a drinking trip. So, well,
that's it. Well, if you put all your eggs in one basket, and then Google does something in that basket, it's no longer sufficient. You end up screwed. You know what I mean? So you don't want that to happen. So can we talk a little bit? So you have, sounds like you have, a decent portfolio of clients. You're working with different freelancers and things. What tools would you use day to day to try and help run the business?
Well, yeah, generally Skype is the best one for like communicating. Everyone's always got that. But then I use Asana a lot for the project management. That's always good. I mean, even just the free versions, like, got so much stuff that you don't really need anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they're the main ones for like communication and just keeping on track of everything that's going
Project
on.
management and things.
But
Yeah, sweet.
but there's like a whole huge array of online tools for just actually doing the work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, let's talk about SEO. I guess, do you have a favorite SEO tool, or what would be the main one you use for? Because I know local SEO. I mean, personally, I have KW Finder, Ahrefs, and SEMRush. Those are the three that I use. You kind of use different ones for different things, but from in your experience, what ones do you use at the minute?
Yeah, so I'm using SEMRush. I tried checking it against with Neil Patel's Uber Suggests, which is also a good tool. But yeah, SEMrush is just amazing, and they just keep adding new stuff in.
Sufficient. Yeah, I mean it.
And stuff for like your monthly client reports on how they're tracking. It's so good that you can customize the reports and just update it so it's got your brand on it, and it just sends out. You don't need to like think about it. That stuff's amazing.
No, I mean that's what you want. You want to build as much automation, especially when you're doing things at scale. You know what I mean? Like you need to start building, like you mentioned about the templates for building out websites. I mean, you don't have to sit down and think about it every single time. There's questionnaires, there's a process, and a lot of it can be done without having to think too much about it, and it allows you. And with local SEO, I mean, I feel like it's the same thing. You kind of work off, 3 and 6 month sprints. You have your initial period, your research, competitor analysis, and your citations, doing your on-site. There's a number of different things, but it's the same thing. It doesn't matter who it is. It's the same. You have a process that you can repeat. You know what I mean? Over and over again, and use the same tools. Use something like SEMrush to do the on-site analysis, competitor analysis, backlink analysis. You can do it all there. And then for billing and stuff like that, would you have? So I imagine most of these clients will be on monthly recurring retainers. So what would you use to help manage your billing and the accounting side of things?
Yeah, so I was when my company was set up in Perth. Like I just set up QuickBooks and had all that going. But now, I've moved everything over. So now I just do everything through Stripe.
Stripe, yeah, okay.
And that's good for just taking small monthly payments, even for like a hosting and then you've got it all in one place, and it deals with all the different currencies that you might be dealing with, which is really, really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, because you're going to have Australian, you're going to have sterling, you're going to have euros, and just to talk to a little bit, because local SEO, I find, like you have USA, United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. Those are places where it's a high value. It's appreciated because there's competitive cities. Now, I don't speak Spanish, so maybe it's a different story in Spain or in Italy or something, but I don't hear people talking about it as much as in these other countries. So have you at any point looked to expand the services into the United States, or, are you like just focusing on Australia and that's been sufficient? So
yeah, I have tried. I tried to niche down and go over and try doing some local stuff in the States. So I was going for electricians and plumbers, and then basically I got like a huge list of cities in the States, and then we just pick one, do some research on what their competitors were, and sort of just did targeting like that. So I set up like a landing page which like everyone goes on niche down, but I went super specific. So this landing page was saying the people these are the competitors in your city, and this is why, because of some of the changes in Google, this is why you can actually like beat them, because here are all their points that they've missed out. With the new thing, the new Google guarantee, that's only just coming out in the States, and people need to jump on that, because that's going to get like instantly a load of business just because the adverts are above the adverts.
And did you focus? So now, are you focused even in your like in the business in Australia, are you niche down? Because I find, you often hear, like you're saying, loads of people say niche down, be the expert, be the guy who gets landscaper's business, be the guy who gets plumber's business, just be the dentist guy, whatever it is. Like if you really narrow down and niche in, but I find, just speaking from my own experience, it can be difficult to do that. You know what I mean? And it's easier, not easier, but like, if you cast a wider net, maybe you'll pull in more business. You know what I mean? So what approach did you take, and at what point did you decide that that's the approach you're going to continue with?
Yeah, so at the start, in Australia, I wasn't saying no to any business, and so I don't really have a niche there. But I think, well, especially with the local SEOs, you've got there's a list that it all works for. So I basically just picked electricians and plumbers from that
For
list.
sure, yeah. Service-based businesses, really.
Yeah, and half because I'd already bought a few websites and I knew a few again through the BNI, so I got on with them the most. So I can feel that that my type of conversation and advertising, how I talk, is just better for them than I don't know, like a lawyer or something, let's say.
Yeah, I will keep away from lawyers because their job is to sue people. Not my preferred choice of person to be going into business with. Although in Ireland, once again, I see so much potential. I see all these solicitors like, oh my God, like you've got a 1-star Google review. Like, oh, will you sort out your life? But they're just not interested. Cool. So look, and those are the different. So look, that was good. More context on the tools that you're using and kind of, around niching down and things like that. So if we were to circle around and say, because you're in the game a long time, 12 years is a long time to be, in the online game, if you will, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm only here 8 years. So, I mean, you got a few on me. So like, what would be, with the experience that you have and, with 2020 vision and hindsight, what sort of tips would you have for those who are looking to get started to do a similar, like, I'm not saying copy your model, but like, who are looking to get out there as, freelance web devs or freelance SEOs, what sort of tips would you give them if they were back at square one, they had no sales, no clients, but they wanted to be able to go on and travel and, live in Europe like you are right now and work from work?
I guess if they're going into like building websites and also doing the marketing, just make sure you know WordPress, because I was late to the game for that, and so that was a really steep learning curve. And I know loads of people argue that it's too big for small sites, and you can just do things with like a Wix or a Squarespace, but it's just more hassle than it's like. Yeah, you can get a Wix website for super cheap, and you can set them up in like 5 minutes. But you'll always come to a point where you need to go in and just tweak something manually, and you won't be able to do that. So it's worth just getting to grips with WordPress. And plus, there's all the SEO tools and with all the plugins there already. So you're going to give yourself like a huge boost just with having all the tools that they've got already anyway. So
for sure, yeah. I mean, like, I don't know why anyone would not use WordPress unless you're doing e-commerce. Then you'd use Shopify. But like, yeah, I mean, for local business. Yeah, for local business websites, yeah, because I mean, like WordPress for e-commerce, forget about it. But like, I mean, yeah, of course I'm going to say that, yeah, because I work for them. But like, hey man, I've worked with, I've built Magento sites, I've built WooCommerce sites, and like, man, I'm not speaking just because, like, they don't pay for this. This is my own personal interest. This podcast, it's nothing to do with my role at Shopify. But yeah, I think it's just so much easier, But for WordPress sites, yeah. So just like, would you build your own themes? Because I mean, you have a lot of advancement now. You have like Divi with the on-page builder. You have StudioPress with, like, what would be your thoughts on people who are building sites and where to get their themes? Or do you think that there's no need for these heavy themes? Divi can put a whole load of code that maybe you don't need on the site. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I used to just build themes from scratch, and I did that for a couple of years, and that's good just so that you get to know how WordPress works in the back. But then I've moved, like recently, the last couple of years, to Xtheme, which is it's basically the page builder that Divi wanted to be. So like they were the first ones with like the drag and drop builder. So and the Visual Composer and Divi, they all up their game like maybe 6 months ago. So their new version is pretty much similar to how Xtheme's Cornerstone is. But generally, you'll find that when you are building something, like 90% of it is generic and 10% is like something unique. So there's no point in just starting from scratch just because you've got that 10% that you need to do. Learn that theme, and then you can build shortcodes or plugins or whatever to just do the bit that you need. So that speeds up the process.
And I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do too, I guess. Like what is the goal of the website? Like a local business, it's get calls, get inquiries, for a freelancer. Well, it's probably going to be the same thing, but maybe display a portfolio. Okay, so that's that'll be one part of it. And then if you're looking to try and acquire sales and clients, would it be kind of what we've spoken about already, like to go to networking events and to show up in Facebook groups and add value? Would those be kind of the main takeaways from this?
Yeah, if you're living in a big enough town where there is like local work that you could get, then going face to face and doing networking that way is going to be quicker than trying to do everything online with. Get your first few clients by going to networking events, and then if you are like moving around, then Facebook groups is the next one.
Sweet. Thank you. And so, all right. Well, look, thank you very much, John. It's great to get some knowledge and insight into your business. And sounds like you have, there's a lot of different things here, and there's a lot of good advice and practical tips for people who are looking to, get into working remotely and create that location independent lifestyle. So could you just give us a little bit of info on where people can find you, mention your business, products, or any upcoming launches that you have going on?
So I've got the three main businesses, which is techwhisperer.co. So that's where I do the local SEO. I've got the templates one, which is wptemplates.store, and that's templates for Xtheme, which I just mentioned. And then one project is Drinkster with an A, game.com. And we're hopefully launching that Kickstarter project early next year. And that's going to be amazing.
Perfect. Well, I'll make sure that I link up everything in the show notes anyway, so that they're there for you, and for our listeners, so that they can follow, or so they can click out and see where these are and find you. And if anybody needs help with web development, local SEO, then that they know where to reach you. John, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on, and I wish you every success with your business and your digital nomad journey. Okay. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you found it actionable and inspiring, please be sure to give us a rating on iTunes and share it on your social media profiles. Tag us on Instagram. Get the word out there. Share it in any Facebook groups that you're in where people might be freelancers, remote employees, online entrepreneurs, anywhere that you feel and anyone that you feel could benefit from learning from today's insights and the story and the journey of this entrepreneur who was on today's podcast. Please help get the word out there. And every rating helps, every new listener helps. And all we're trying to do here is to inspire people and share stories to show that it is possible to create that digital nomad lifestyle, and also just the real nitty-gritty of what it actually takes to build an online business, whether that be as a freelancer or as an online business owner. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Adam Finan.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Nomad Cafe podcast. Head over to the website to access the resources and links mentioned in today's episode at digitalnomadcafe.com.